In this video, I'm going to share 6 powerful ways to raise your vibrational frequency. Now, if you incorporate these 6 things into your daily life, it will permanently raise your vibration. So we are energetic beings that vibrate on frequencies. And the problem is a lot of humans are operating in the low negative frequencies. And by the laws of the universe, law of attraction, whatever frequency you're tuned into is the reflection you get back in your reality. So if you're operating in low negative frequencies, the reflection you will get back is negative experiences. You will attract more negativity into your life. So by raising vibration into these higher frequencies, the more positive frequencies, the reflection you will get back is more positivity in your life. And so this is why you want to be doing this work, because you can go from surviving to thriving. So let's get straight into it. The first way to permanently raise your vibration is to commit to a daily grounding practice. Now, this is because a lot of people are operating from their ego minds. It's the ego that keeps you in those low negative frequencies. All your negative, fear-based thoughts come from the ego. So if you're operating from the ego, you're going to keep creating negativity in your life. By incorporating a daily grounding practice, the idea is that you use these practices to shift your awareness, to shift yourself out of the ego and into your heart. Because when you're operating from the heart, that is when you're operating from the soul. As soon as you make that shift from ego to soul, it instantly raises your vibration. So I'm going to share some different grounding practices that you can use to do this. You can use meditation. It's a great way to shift you from the ego mind to the heart. You could use mindfulness practices, earthing. So earthing is where you're walking barefoot on the earth. You're connecting your bare feet to nature. You can use things like yoga or journaling. And again, the idea is to commit to a daily practice so that you're shifting yourself out of that ego mind. So for me, I commit to daily meditations. That's my daily practice. However, I still do the other practices that I suggested. So I'm not saying just to pick one and never do the others. I'm just saying pick one that you commit to doing every day. So for me, again, I meditate every day. However, I will earth when I have the opportunity to earth, when I have the opportunity to walk barefoot on the earth. I don't do that every day, but I will make the effort to do it as much as I can. So you can still incorporate these other practices. It's just commit to one that you do every day. And I recommend doing it as soon as you wake up, first thing in the morning, before you start your day. Because as soon as you wake up, it's a great time to shift yourself out of that ego mind into your heart and soul, and then go about your day. Commit to that every single day, and you will start noticing that you will feel better, you'll feel more positive, and you should notice shifts in your reality to mirror that. My second tip for permanently raising vibration, and this is important, and that is shadow work and healing. There are some people in the spiritual community that are all about love and light, but it can't just be all about love and light all the time. Otherwise, that's what you call toxic positivity. In order to raise your vibration, you've got to go into your darkness. You've got to go into your shadow. And so doing shadow work is basically just digging into yourself, becoming aware of your shadow, which is a psychology term coined by Carl Jung. We all have a shadow, and this gets formed mostly in childhood, based off like your experiences. And so your shadow is like kind of playing out in the background, and you may not even be aware of it unless you do shadow work. So doing the shadow work is how you become aware of your shadow that's in the unconsciousness, right? So it's bringing the unconscious into the conscious to become aware of it so that it stops creating problems in your life, just like the ego. So the ego and the shadow are different aspects of yourself. The ego will create problems, the shadow will create problems. And so by doing shadow work, it's a way of helping you find your wounds, find where you need healing so that you can heal. You can't heal anything that you're not aware of. Now, I do make videos on shadow work if you want to learn more about that. But the point is that you've really got to go into your darkness. You've got to dig into yourself. You've got to find those wounds and you've got to heal them and release them in order to permanently raise your vibration. Number 3 is to let go. Let go of the things that don't serve you. Let go of the things that keep you in the negative, low frequencies. So here we have Dr. David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, and these are all the different vibrational levels. And most humans are operating between shame and pride. And so these are all the negative low frequencies. This is when you're operating from the ego mind. So let go of these things, because these things is what's keeping you down here. Let go of attachments. It was Buddha who said the root of suffering is attachment, being attached to things. Let go of your desires. Desire is right here on the scale of consciousness. It's a negative low frequency. Let go of outcomes. Let go of control. These things, by the way, is all ego bullshit. It's the ego that is attached to the outcome. It's the ego that likes to control. So by using the first tip I gave, which is incorporating a daily grounding practice, this will help you to let go of these things because it's all ego bullshit, right? Let go of expectations. Replace expectations for appreciation. So instead of expecting things from other people, you appreciate the things that other people do for you. Let go of limiting beliefs. We all have these negative, self-limiting beliefs that we have been programmed with that aren't serving us. So this is where you want to do some belief work. You have to become aware of the limiting beliefs that are holding you back and make the choice to let it go and rewire in a more positive belief that will serve you. So for example, a very common limiting belief is I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. So it's becoming aware of this limiting belief, making the choice to let it go, and then to start wiring in a new belief of I am good enough, I am worthy. Let go of people, low vibrational, toxic, negative people, people that aren't your true friends, that aren't really supporting you. Let them go. I used to hang around a lot of negative people way back in the day, and I was in a very negative environment, and I was at my lowest point then. Once I got away from that crowd, and I got more positive people around me, obviously, it's going to naturally raise your vibration. So that's why I recommend letting go of people and let go of labels. So labels don't actually serve you. Labels are a program because humans are just like a computer that runs on programs. So for example, let's say you have the label. Let's say you were a fat kid. You've always been overweight and people may have called you fat. So you adopted that label, like I'm a fat person. You identify with that label. And let's say you grow up, you become an adult and you're sick of being that fat person. So you decide you're going to start working out. You start going to the gym. However, if you're still attached to this label and identifying as a fat person, it's going to be really hard to drop that weight. So you've got to let go of the label that doesn't serve you. Even if, like, let's say you're still overweight, let it go. Stop identifying as being fat and overweight and then work out. You will drop that weight because you're the creator of your reality. So labels do not serve us. Let go of all of these things that keep you in these negative frequencies and your vibration will naturally raise because your vibration is naturally high. I like to use the analogy, the buoy in the ocean. You push a buoy under the water. As soon as you let that buoy go, it naturally raises back up to the surface. Your vibration works in the exact same way. The fourth way to permanently raise your vibration is to do things that bring you joy. Just start doing them in your day-to-day life. So for example, I thought back to when I was a kid. I really used to love riding waves on a boogie board. It was something that brought me joy. So I recently went out and bought myself a boogie board so I can start doing that again. And the cool thing about that is it's not something that costs money to do. I can just go to the beach with my boogie board and ride waves whenever I want. Brings me that joy. And so I'd also recommend to think back to your childhood. What did you really enjoy doing as a child? Maybe you really enjoyed dancing, but as an adult, you don't dance anymore. So you may want to bring dancing back into your life. So have a think about it, because there can be more than one thing that brings you joy. Like, for example, I also enjoy swinging on a swing. It's a great way to connect to the inner child, and it's something that's really simple that brings me joy. So really think about different things that brings you joy, different types of hobbies, and just start bringing them back into your life, because this will keep you in a high vibe state. Joy is a very high vibrational frequency. It vibrates at 540. So again, spend some time giving it some thought. What really makes you happy? What puts you in that state? And then just start doing it. Number 5 is to connect to nature. We aren't really designed to be living in cities, to be living with all these buildings and concrete. Cities overstimulate us because there's so much going on. There's so much noise from traffic, from sirens like, police sirens, ambulances. There's like lawnmowers and leaf blowers, and there's so much going on in the city that it overstimulates us, which leads us to feeling stressed. When you go out in nature, it's a lot more calm, quiet, and peaceful. Nature is God, is spirit as well. So just by being in nature, you're connected to spirit. And going out in nature, it grounds you in the body as well. So this could also be a grounding practice. It brings you into the present moment, which dissolves the ego. So being in the present moment, dissolving the ego, instantly will raise your vibration. And so especially if you're living in the city, I would recommend to create a habit of getting out into nature regularly. If you can't do it every day, aim to get out there at least once a week. It could be going for a swim in the ocean or going for a hike in a mountain. Whatever you enjoy, go and do that and get those nature vibes. And the last one, number 6, is to commit to a daily gratitude practice. This is very simple to do, yet extremely powerful. This is because gratitude gets you to shift your focus from the lack in your life to your blessings. It's really easy for us to take things for granted, to complain. I've been guilty of that myself in the past. But when you just take things for granted and you're just complaining about life, of course that's going to keep you on those negative low frequencies. When you start up a daily gratitude practice, you're taking that time to actually reflect on the good things you have in your life. And this can rewire your brain to being more positive, to acknowledging blessings, and it instantly raises your vibration. And so it's very easy for us to take things for granted, right? I'm going to share some of my own examples of this. Way back in the day, I damaged my spine and I had a herniated disc that was pinching up a nerve. So for me to just stand and walk, I was in pain and no doctor would listen to me about my pain. I put up with that for like 6 years. I could not stand or walk without being in pain. So most people will take walking for granted, just going for a walk up the street, right? They may complain that they don't have a car and they have to walk. Well, the truth is there are people out there that can't even walk because of having damaged spines with pinched up nerves. Luckily for me, I had a spinal fusion surgery that got rid of my pain, so now I can go back to walking pain-free. However, while I was doing my research before getting the spinal fusion surgery, I learned that there are people out there that have chronic back pain. They have, nerves pinched up in their spine, and the medical professionals will tell them that nothing can be done for you. So these people are living with chronic pain every day and they can't even leave their house. They can't do basic things for themselves. And so that's an example of how we can take walking for granted. After going through that experience myself of having a pinched up nerve and having a spinal fusion, I now am so grateful that I can leave my house and I can go for a walk up the street, or I can go for a walk out in nature. So, like I said, it's very easy for us to just take these things for granted, but when you take the time to create this daily gratitude practice where you may want to start the day where you just write 3 things down that you're grateful for. You know, I'm grateful that I can walk up the street. I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I've got heaps of food, you know. The simple things that we just take for granted. Again, it's going to start training your brain, start rewiring your brain to realize that you have a blessed life. And that will instantly raise your vibration. Also, like I said at the start of the video, whatever frequency you're tuned into is the reflection you get back. So when you're tuned into the frequency of gratitude, the reflection you get back is the universe will bring more things into your life for you to be grateful for. That is why it's a powerful frequency. So I highly recommend starting up a daily gratitude practice. It will transform your life. So those are my 6 ways to raise your vibrational frequency permanently. If you got value out of the video, let me know by smashing the like button or write me a comment. If you like this sort of content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'm going to leave a follow-up video here that will share low vibrational habits that you may have. So feel free to watch that and have an awesome day. Peace.